Today's top picks from Breakingviews, it's all about investment. We look at why wealthy Chinese investors are looking outwards and why dimming growth prospects mean foreign investors' optimism in India isn't justified. We'll put those two together. And a quick look at whether diamonds are losing their sparkle, their luster. With me is Robert Cole.
Hiya, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Let's start with India and China. Yeah, I want to start with India, actually. Growth prospects don't justify the optimism is what your columnist says here. Why is that?
Well, India is, one of the great growth markets. We're all very excited about it, not quite as excited perhaps about China. But we seem to be at a certain inflection point here where, the excitement about the growth in India and China is dimming, while perhaps, touch wood, growth in the developing world, notably the US, is going up. But investors don't quite seem to have caught up with that, and Mumbai stocks I think are up 11 or 12% this year, which is quite a handsome return. Yeah, of course, now all stocks are up and all that, and a rising tide lifts all boats, as we know. But India's actually in quite a little tricky place. Growth is slowing, and there's a policy confusion, for want of a better word, which means investors in India can't afford to be quite as optimistic as they seem to be.
All right, that's India. Just a quick further word on China. Outbound investment up 9% in 2011. Yeah, I mean this is pretty good news.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, we worry about slowing growth. We look at the.
But why is the point is, why is the outbound investment going out, not investing in China? Right. Okay, let's not get this out of context. China is still the most exciting growth market in the world, and will be probably for several decades at least. But what we're noticing here is that Chinese investors, corporately and the individual wealthy Chinese people, are looking more outside China for their investments. Now, yeah, of course they always have. They're a big player in the US Treasury markets and have been for a very long time. But for example, Wei, my colleague, has noticed that a lot of interest in residential property in Vancouver, in London.
I guess the big picture question. You say touch wood, the US is or the rest of the world outside China and India is picking up the slack. Is the rest of the world picking up the slack? Is the US, look at what happened in the Eurozone last week, the PMIs, but is the US enough to pick up the slack that we're seeing in China and India now?
Well,
in terms of the global growth story,
I think that we're still in that turning point, and it's not a turning point. The turning point will last several months, if not a year, and we can't be sure about that. And there is a huge doubt about whether, if you like, the synthetic actions, QE, low interest rates, action by the ECB, is actually fueling this, what appears to be a resurgence of growth. Now, I'm hopeful that, that, if you like, has spurred it, and it will continue and will persist. But, the engine, if you like, what we're doing is jump-starting the car, right? We've still got to see whether it can run under its own accord, and we're not yet convinced of that, but, jump-starting does work.
All right. Diamonds. So Rio and BHP are getting out. Yeah. What, is this too small for them? Well, child's play for them.
I'm surprised you haven't told me that diamonds are a girl's best friend.
I was trying to avoid the cliches. Robert.
Well,
we leave that to you guys at Breakingviews.
Well, they may be a girl's best friend, but they don't seem to be the favourite asset of the very biggest miners. And this is slightly perplexing, because I don't think there's anything really wrong with diamonds. And okay, they may not be the biggest kind of asset beside, iron ore or coal, but it's still a chunky. Here we are, Rio. I think the mooted price for this is $2 billion. That's not a small asset.
We've got the CEO of De Beers coming in later today.
It'd be interesting to see.
Well, what do we want to ask him? Do we want to ask him if he can pick up the Rio stake?
Well, you can ask him. We're kind of assuming that because De Beers has such a large presence in that market already, it wouldn't be allowed to, or wouldn't want to. I think it's more likely that these assets will be picked up by smaller miners, perhaps, or even private equity. Someone with a bit more adventure. I can't help feeling actually that Rio and BHP are being a slightly sort of unadventurous with this, and they should perhaps look forward to getting some decent returns by knuckling down. It's slightly smaller than other assets, but it doesn't mean to say that they're necessarily very bad.
Okay. we'll see where that goes. Robert, many thanks for that. For more agenda-setting insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. Also watch my interview with the De Beers CEO. That'll be on the Insider platform as well as .com. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.